Today's conversation was inspired by a discussion we had in our Monday conversation in my flow-based prosperity group coaching and masterminding. We discussed the topic of resistance. So what I'd like to share with you is my experiences, our conversations woven together in a way where I trust will be very beneficial for you if you experience resistance. I'd like to start off with this quote here from the book The Kabbalion. It states, "Transmutation is a term usually employed to designate the ancient art of the transmutation of metals, particularly of the base metals, into gold." The word transmute means to change from one nature, form, or substance into another, to transform. And accordingly, mental transmutation means the art of changing and transforming mental states, forms, and conditions into others. So you may see that mental transmutation is the art of mental chemistry. If you like the term, a form of practical mystic psychology. If an individual desires to achieve something or experience something in life, be it an ideal relationship, a wonderful business, life experiences, etc., they may have resistance being brought to awareness. It is revealed in the emotions, the behaviors, and the thoughts. The thoughts and the emotions reveal what the individual has been identified with. The individual had at one point formed an identity as a result of looking around for approval, validation, or confirmation, forming confirmation bias in mind, which we can say is untrue belief, not from the premise of truth. The individual desires to experience love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Nothing wrong with that. As the individual acknowledges that resistance is a friend rather than an enemy, generating enemies with, let's say, behaviors, emotions, thoughts, mind, rather than labeling these appearances of life as an enemy. The individual may realize that I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, and transmute in that moment the appearance which they refer to as resistance into acceptance. From personal experience, I experienced a lot of resistance when it came to communication. Communication in friendships, relationships, business interactions. The resistance was a friend revealing what I was identified with, which again was the result of an identity that was formed, constructed by interpreting the experiences and forming untrue beliefs. This is resistance, my friend, bringing awareness to what has been identified with. Now, the mental states, which are bodies of beliefs, or we may focus in on specific beliefs. play out as forms, conditions, and physical appearances. So the individual may experience resistance to accepting that they are already fulfilled in whatever regard, whatever their vision may be, as we discuss, operating from the end. No shame, no condemnation. I would like to discuss 3 ways that I've been doing this, and individuals that I work with who have been applying this, as well as I would like to emphasize that I don't consider one of these ways to be better than another. Personally, each one of these allowed me to release the identification to particular beliefs that were generating that resistance. Or we could say stories which reveal the beliefs that was generating that resistance. And also on the journey to actualizing the vision. So acceptance of the end and also what may occur on the journey to actualizing the vision. Entrepreneurs may experience resistance in relation to sales, in relation to marketing, in relation to operations, finance, leadership, innovation. No shame and condemnation. Resistance is a friend, bringing awareness to the belief identified with. And the resistance may be transformed or released, or we may purely observe the resistance to transform it. The 3 ways. And what happens? The individual remains in their flow. Mind is purified. They acknowledge this moment now is a present, a gift. We could say, thank you, resistance, for bringing awareness to the realization that I am beyond resistance, knowing that I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Thus, transmuting the emotional resistance into acceptance. Which brings me to point number 1. Purely observe the resistance. The individual may visualize themselves having achieved the outcome. This can release the resistance. If the individual has challenges, visualizing themselves achieving the outcome, they may take the outcome and chunk it down into steps leading to the outcome. For example, an entrepreneur visualizes themselves earning $50,000 a month. Yet there is resistance to visualizing themselves achieving $50,000 a month. No shame, no condemnation. They can chunk it down to say they visualize themselves acquiring their first client, putting together, having achieved a successful client acquisition. One client. They may experience less resistance or no resistance. And what if the individual has resistance to that? Visualizing having acquired a client acquisition. Well, they may chunk it down even more so. They may visualize themselves moving into a conversation with the client and saying to themselves that this is easy, or it's easier, more so than ever before, to engage in conversations with a prospect, knowing that I have a wonderful product or service that can benefit them. Pure observation. The resistance is revealing fear, doubt, uncertainty, no shame and condemnation. Pure observation of the resistance by visualizing an aspect of the journey to actualizing the vision. As they visualize themselves, having a conversation with themselves, acknowledging that this is easy. It is then easier for them to visualize the successful client acquisition outcome, and so forth. Number 2, accept and welcome change as an opportunity for growth. And by growth, it means realizing that I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Growing in the realization that I already am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And the resistance is a friend, bringing awareness to an untrue belief which may be released, and no shame and condemnation. We accept and welcome the resistance for bringing awareness to pure observation. As I put number 1, purely observe the resistance. Not shaming or condemning, accepting that the individual is experiencing resistance. Knowing that I am beyond resistance, I am beyond shaming the individual for experiencing resistance. Purely observe the resistance. Accept, welcome change in your favor. For everyone that I spoke to, the resistance was a sign of change. And so, if I experience resistance, I welcome it, for I know that change is occurring. And by change, I mean releasing of the identification, the false identity construct, which is made up of beliefs, to be as I am. True self-acceptance. Resistance brings awareness to whatever that is untrue, to be released. No shame and condemnation. Resistance is my friend. And resistance being my friend, I may purely observe resistance. Purely observe the resistance. And the resistance is transmuted into acceptance. I accept the end. I accept being as I am. Then we have gratitude. The individual may put their attention on actualizations of love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, and entertain a conversation with themselves in relation to that appearance. Like, for example, right now, I have a wonderful view as I'm looking out this window, recording this video as I'm enjoying this conversation with you. I feel experientially deep gratitude. If there was resistance, I'm able to purely observe the resistance and see it from the perspective of change, as mentioned. Thank you, resistance. As I look back at personal experiences from my past, there was a time where I truly desired to have a view like this. To be able to sit in my own office, in my own place, look outside in a beautiful view, have it set up in a way where I could comfortably record videos. Yet, there may have been resistance at a particular point of accepting that one day I will actualize it. Here's the day. So I give gratitude to, right now, this experience. Knowing that if resistance were to arise, let's say I set another vision, that's okay. Because what is it revealing? It's indicating change, and a change in my favor. So, as resistance indicates change in my favor, I am purely observing the resistance. And thus, I notice that if resistance were to arise, it's easier to purely observe the resistance. For again and again and again, I find different appearances of life, behaviors, environments, and give gratitude to it. Right now, I'm grateful to have this conversation. I'm grateful to have this conversation in this particular room, with this particular view. We actually bought a plant in which I placed by the window. I'm looking at the plant right now. I feel very grateful to have found this plant. It's a wonderful plant. Very grateful. Very grateful that someone took this plant, grew it up to a certain height, put it in a pot, and then put it out for sale. I can do the same with my products or services. You could do the same with your products or services. Your product, your service can be one day someone's symbol of gratitude, as this plant is for me right now, as this microphone is for me right now. So we see that if resistance were to arise, if attention is placed on gratitude in relation to appearances, and then connecting it to how at one point this was once a vision in which I may have had resistance to, and seeing the resistance as a friend in that particular moment that I had experienced it before, and relating it over to what I give gratitude to now, I find that this practice facilitates a more pure observation of resistance, and thus the individual feels even more of a harmonious relationship with resistance. Number 2, play with the resistance. I consider purely observing the resistance as a form of transmutation. Again, the word transmute means to change from one nature, form, or substance into another, to transform. So I transform the way I look at resistance, and appearances of resistance transform into appearances of acceptance. As we've been discussing, I consider appearances to be physical appearances, what is made visible through the 5 senses, as well as emotions, and also mental phenomena, mental states, beliefs, thoughts, visual imagery, which is another form of transmutation. Number 2, play with the resistance. Typically, when I discuss transmutation, I refer to playing with the resistance. We may also, as mentioned, purely observe the resistance, which I also consider that to be a way of playing with the resistance. Childlike, in relationship with the resistance. A child purely observes resistance. Let's say if they were riding a bike, they fall off the bike. They purely observe the resistance. It inspires them. So, an individual may experience strong emotions which they may label as anger, frustration, etc. These energies in motion That's what emotions are. Energy in motion. They may be transmuted and actually propel physical activity. For example, exercise. If the individual has pent-up resistance, they may exercise, lift weights, run, etc., play some sports, and transmute that energy in motion to a wonderful creative expression. Sports, and also wonderful for the body. This may also bring forth a lot of clarity. I find this. There were times where I experienced strong emotions, which again we can call anger, frustration. I went to go work out. I went for a run. And the emotions were transmuted into joy, into bliss, and clarity arose. Knowing that I am bliss, clarity arises. And I have wonderful insights as to what to integrate into my business, as to what to integrate into these videos. So you may play with the resistance by engaging in physical activity. Number 2, art. Creative activities like painting or drawing may transmute the resistance. I know many artists who had experienced very strong emotions and transmuted it to building wonderful inventions and innovations. They were once very angry as to how life appeared. And so they transmuted that resistance to generating wonderful products or services to solve that particular challenge, which they saw it as an opportunity, so that other people may benefit from it. I also know a number of artists that when they experience strong emotions, think of, for example, Napoleon Hill speaking of the burning desire. They transmute that burning desire into art. Much of the art that we see, we can experience the transmutation upon appreciating that art. We see it visible in the art. We feel it experientially. We emotionally relate to the art piece. There's something fascinating about the art piece that was once inspired by a burning desire, transmuted into form, creative expression. Laughing. So I say, play with the resistance. Like a child. Spontaneous laughter, playfulness, and the resistance is transmuted into acceptance. Establishing a routine. So I like having a morning routine in which I wake up at a particular time, read my auto-suggestions, drink a tall glass of water, go to the gym, work out, come back home, have a wonderful breakfast, and then take a shower, meditate for 20 minutes. What I notice is this is a powerful routine for transmuting resistance. I find that it is a lot easier if I was experiencing resistance during the day to purely observe the resistance and or play with the resistance. I notice that I am lighthearted, discovering creative ways to transmute any emotion, which is energy in motion, into a creative expression, such as conversations like this. Could be conversations with clients. For me, I consider the two gifts, mind and speech, as a form of creative expression as well. Although when we refer to, in reference to the Hermetica, the two gifts, mind and speech, we speak a lot of inward, using speech inwardly to plant impressions on the subconscious mind, from which the unseen power takes those impressions and externalizes them. I also apply it externally, in conversation, in creative conversation flow, which actually facilitates transmutation of the resistance. I call this artful communication or artful autosuggestion, where the individual may transmute the resistance of another individual through artful conversation in which they speak directly to the subconscious mind without triggering beliefs that are untrue that generate a fight or flight response. The individual actually ends up accepting the suggestion as it is a true self-suggestion. Knowing that I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. If resistance arises, we play with the resistance in conversation. We do this in consulting. We do this in leadership. We play with the resistance in the conversation. There's no problem with the individual for experiencing resistance. We transmute the resistance through artful conversations, artful autosuggestions during conversations, in which the individual transforms as a result of that conversation. See, anytime an individual is interacting with words, they are relating to the words inwardly, and they may have resistance to particular words, which is really a result of belief identification in which words imply certain meaning to them. When the facilitator values flow, remains in their flow, watch the video I released on Tuesday, remains in their flow, they're able to communicate artfully and thus artfully communicate in a way that does not trigger the beliefs unnecessarily, which can result in argument or conflict unnecessarily. Rather, speaking directly to the subconscious may transmute the emotions, release identification to the beliefs that were resulting in the emotions being experienced, the energy emotion experienced in that particular way, which we can call anger, frustration. This is true for strong emotions as well. We can call this a disarming conversation, flow-based disarming conversation. Engaging in hobbies. I enjoy snowboarding, any kind of board sports, actually. What are those hobbies in which you notice that perhaps you have resistance to something that when you engage in those hobbies, the resistance is transmuted to the creative expression of the hobby or the skill cultivation? Playing with the resistance. Learning something new, which can include taking up a new skill or hobby. The individual may be very rigidly identified with particular beliefs in which they subconsciously try to suppress or repress or force themselves to do things in a particular way, which doesn't do anything but generate more resistance. Yet, if they try something different, if they learn something new, they may discover something which can be used as a catalyst to transmute the emotions. For me, it's the entrepreneurial journey. As mentioned, entrepreneurship has been a spiritual catalyst for me. All the things that I discussed on this channel from my personal experiences and also relating to the various information that I'm inspired from resulted in and continues to result in more so each day, each moment actually, in what I refer to as, we discussed in Tuesday's video, which I'll link to in the description, as spiritual integration. Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. Resistance can be something that the individual, for whatever the reason may be, has an inharmonious relationship with, as they may be choosing to be stuck in their head, getting overly conceptual, rather than integrated with the experience. being one with the experience. And so thus they may try to escape or pretend like the resistance is not there, resulting in suppressing and repressing the resistance, rather than releasing the resistance, transmuting the resistance, purely observing the resistance, energy in motion, allowing the emotions to be, playing with the resistance so that it be transmuted, like for example, with the burning desire, into a service to others, into a wonderful business, into wonderful art, etc. Another way to relate to resistance ideally is to realize that I am beyond resistance. This reminds me of Exodus 3:14. And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you. Being with, in, and from I am, the individual detaches from outcomes in which the individual believes provides happiness, fulfillment, love, peace, and brings them to the realization that they are already created in the perfect image of the Creator. Love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And being detached from the outcomes is able to accept easily that I am. Love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Which appears as, wonderfully, the outer appearances of life, as symbols of love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. A powerful form of transmutation, realizing that I am beyond resistance by being still and witnessing the appearances change, emotional relatability, the physical appearances, and also the mental phenomena, the thoughts, which we end up noticing to be from the premise of pure observation, loving thoughts, harmonious thoughts in relationship with resistance, and also, as mentioned, ideas, hunches, and inspiration for transmutation into creative expression. Realizing that I am beyond resistance can at times transmute the resistance into creative expression. There's been many times for myself where, by being still and realizing that I am beyond resistance, it was easy for me to detach from the outcome, and also the still small voice and intuition provided clear insight as to what to do and what to create in relation to the different aspects of the entrepreneurial journey: sales, marketing, innovation, operations, finance, leadership. It's wonderful. Speaking of which, Sunday's video, we talked about, isn't it wonderful? Capturing the feeling, going to the end, capturing the feeling of bliss, I am bliss, and how the appearances include all the things that are symbols of that bliss, knowing that I am bliss, being as I am bliss, which then the individual detaches from outcomes, which releases the resistance, transmutes the resistance into ideal creative expressions. To facilitate this, I included 2 more points. Breathing. Deep breathing. In the moment, if the individual experiences resistance, deep breath, in and out. Stillness. And they realize that I am beyond resistance. This may be done real time in conversations. I noticed this in conversations where I was experiencing resistance by what another person said, and more accurately put, what I was relating to what another person said. I would breathe deeply and the resistance would no longer be there. The energy in motion would release. This is true even for strong emotions, like anger. And then the individual automatically knows what to do, what to say, and they operate ideally from the premise of truth, knowing that I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Also, meditation. As mentioned, I enjoy Vipassana meditation. I do it 20 minutes a day, and I've been doing it since 2008. Meditation is a practice that we notice we get benefits more and more so, compounding benefits, as it is incorporated. As I mentioned, I incorporate it in my morning routine. Meditation allows us to acknowledge that I am beyond resistance, knowing that the individual is witnessing appearances, mental phenomena, emotions, appearances. The individual detaches from identification to beliefs, thoughts, emotions, behaviors, environment, and has a harmonious relationship, thus, with thoughts, emotions, behaviors, mind. And this practice of meditation brings us into deeper realization. The deeper realization that I am beyond resistance, that I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And from the stillness, the individual finds it easier to purely observe the resistance. And being childlike again, play with the resistance as applicable. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. You could say, knowing that I am beyond resistance, I purely observe the resistance to transmute it into creative expressions of true self-acceptance. The outer appearances of life appear to transform, to reveal that I am. Love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. As outer appearances of life, relationships, career, business, wonderful life experiences, more and more so each day, authentic forms of acknowledgement that I am beyond resistance, realizing resistance is the catalyst and thus my friend, stimulating the individual to be as I am. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.